Hi, I'm Ash. I'm a social scientist and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I make videos about sociological topics and occasionally I make vlogs. In today's video, we're going to be talking about creepypastas. So, let's get into the video. Just a quick disclaimer before we start, some of the content discussed in today's video may be disturbing to some viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. When I do research on platforms such as TikTok, I often stumble across videos of people discussing creepypastas, and I think it's creepypasta, or is it actually creepypasta? I'm going to say creepypasta because it's from copy-paste, so that's what I assume it is. Anyway, I often stumble across videos of people discussing creepypastas as real-life events that actually occurred, but it's pretty obvious that they were a creepypasta. So that begs the question, are creepypastas the new urban legends? Have we seen a digital shift in storytelling? When I was little, there were plenty of urban legend stories that went around, and one that really stuck with me to this day was the story of the porcelain doll. And according to Creepypasta Wiki, this story is called Dolly Molly, and it was written in 2013, but I definitely heard it when I was like 8, so it has to be much older than that. So maybe around like 2003, 2004. But essentially the story is about a girl who buys a porcelain doll, and the porcelain doll comes to life and essentially kills her family. And there's different reiterations of it. You can Google the story Dolly Molly if you want to read it. So, being an urban legend, creepypasta type of story, details of the story would be changed in passing. But when one of my friends in primary school told me this, I was so spooked. And as I said before, I was like 8. And what 8-year-old girl wouldn't be spooked by this story? And at that time, I had about 5 porcelain dolls in a shelf in my bedroom, and I made my mum take them away because I was so scared. And every time I see a porcelain doll now, I always think of this story, and even though I'm an adult and I'm not really scared of dolls anymore, I just always think about that story. And it was one story that was around before the internet was popular, and it was told and retold again. And I'm sure we can all think of stories like urban legends that we had from childhood that spooked us, and most of the time they were fake. Although I have heard some that were true, like the creepypasta based or urban legend based on Tent Girl. And I think other popular ones were Candyman, Bloody Mary, the Black-Eyed Children, and so on. But I think there has really been a shift in what we know today as urban legends. With the rise of the digital age, creepypastas have become the new urban legends. And in this video, we're going to explore why. I hope you enjoy. Creepypasta culture, reinventing the urban legend online. So a while back I was watching a TikTok video about Carmen Winstead, also sometimes known as Jessica Smith, and the person telling this story was really convincing. Basically, Carmen Winstead was a 17-year-old who was allegedly pushed into a well or a sewer of some kind by a few friends of hers. She had just started a new high school in her final year, and she'd moved in with her dad after her parents had split, and some rumors started that she was sleeping with the school's janitor. And her new group of friends, 5 other girls who she thought were her friends, started this rumor, and they ended up being very nasty behind Carmen's back. So the legend goes that these girls ended up pushing Carmen into the sewer after she confronted them one day, after a fire drill at school. Teachers asked where Carmen was when they couldn't find her, and the 5 girls joked and said she was in the sewer. Except when the teachers saw Carmen, her head had twisted all the way around. I don't want to go into more detail, it's obviously very gruesome, but anyway, the authorities were called, and Carmen's parents were devastated losing their child, as anyone would be. All 5 girls denied the truth, saying it was an accident, and the case was closed relatively quickly. However, a few months later, all 5 girls that were involved in this accident were tormented on their MySpace profiles. They started receiving messages from an anonymous source that claimed Carmen's death wasn't an accident and that those responsible needed to fess up or suffer the consequences. None of these 5 girls ended up confessing, and they were each found in the sewer one by one, their fate the same as Carmen's. Now, obviously, this story isn't real. It's completely made up. It's fake. But because it was so convincing, I was nearly had. And I quickly Googled it to make sure I wasn't going insane. And if this were real, there would have been plenty of news articles about it. So it's quite an easy one to debunk. But then I realized that so many people actually believed this story. They hadn't done what I did and Google it to try and debunk it or figure out what the story was. And what I find interesting is that you really, really think Carmen managed to haunt these 5 girls on MySpace and lead them to their same fate. I think what was really convincing about this story when I heard it was that the person telling the story also had a photo of a teenage girl. And to be fair, this could have just been a random photo from the internet, it could have been a stolen photo, a stock photo, but when we add like a picture of a real person, it just kind of makes it feel more credible. And I think it's all to do with how the story is told. It can be so convincing that we might become extra gullible for a split second, where we're taken into that world where that story is. Carmen's story is just one example among many. There are countless creepypastas that people discuss and share both in real life and online, becoming so embedded in culture that they are often believed to be true. Urban legends are considered important due to their anonymity, as they've been told over and over again, and we don't really know where they originated from. Did they come from a nameless storyteller, or were they actually inspired by a true event? The current creepypasta community is a difficult one because we don't actually know the origins of the story. We know it's on the internet, but did they just make it up, or did they hear them from someone else? We don't really know for sure. So what is a creepypasta? And I feel like I'm losing my voice all of a sudden. So according to Wikipedia, a creepypasta is a horror-related legend which has been shared around the internet. Creepypastas are user-generated content that has the intention to frighten readers. Subjects can include topics like ghosts, paranormal stuff, cryptids, M-word, S-word, aliens, zombies, rituals, supernatural things, and even haunted media. Creepypasta is derived from copypasta, that is, text that is intended to be shared across media and platforms. Creepypastas are designed to be shared and retold over and over, even if details slightly change. And usually there is no credit given to the original author when resharing the stories. So back in 2014, creepypastas gained popularity and notoriety following the Slender Man stabbing. And yes, this is a very, very awful case to talk about. So Slender Man is a very, very popular creepypasta. I'm sure you all know who Slender Man I'm sure you all know who Slender Man is. And if not, the Slender Man is a fictional supernatural character that was first seen on the internet on an American comedy website known as Something Awful. Slender Man was a creepypasta internet meme created by Eric Knudsen and is depicted as thin, unnaturally tall humanoid with a featureless white head and face wearing a black suit. Legend has it that Slender Man stalks, abducts, and traumatizes people, particularly children. And the creator did a really good job putting the character into black and white photos and freaking people out. So, well done to him. But the case that I'm going to talk about, the Slender Man stabbing, is absolutely awful and, yeah, just content warning for attempted M-word. In Wisconsin in 2014, a 12-year-old girl was stabbed 19 times by 2 of her friends after being lured into the woods. She was fortunately saved by a passerby cyclist, which inspired her to go into medicine as an adult, and honestly, it's a miracle that she survived. The 2 girls who committed this crime did so because they wanted to prove that Slender Man was real, and they weren't having a bar of people saying he was made up. And as a result of this case, many creepypasta websites put up disclaimers encouraging people not to blur the line between fiction and reality. And I've read a lot about this case, and it's just really, really sad because both girls who committed this crime were suffering really bad mental health, and they just weren't getting the help they needed. And they also hadn't developed their critical thinking skills because they were so young, and it's awful. And I hope that they got the help they needed. But in saying that, I think it's very important to be critical of things we read online and to not blur the lines between fiction and reality where possible. A healthy amount of skepticism mixed with curiosity is a good place to be. And if we think a child is displaying signs of poor mental health or social skills, if we can, we should take them to a mental health professional or even a free counsellor just to get help if we can, if possible. Yeah. And I hope that the girl who was stabbed is living her best life now. Sometimes we don't actively seek out creepypastas. They naturally come to us, particularly through kids sharing stories with one another as a form of communication. These tales are incredibly popular even among adults, as evidenced by their presence in TikTok videos. As creepypastas gained popularity, the development of immersive mythologies and characters became increasingly apparent. Many of these stories are deeply intertwined with the digital world, where characters from the creepypastas have a direct link to the digital realm, like haunted video games. Creepypastas push their way into the collective consciousness through things like digital folklore, user-generated content, multimedia format, rapid and viral spread, appeal to horror fans, influence on culture, and a sense of mystery or fear. Vocal Media 2025 says, traditional ghost stories were often confined to a specific time and place, whether it be haunted houses, ancient castles, or remote forests. These settings carried a weight of history and tradition, but in the world of the creepypasta, the digital age has changed how we perceive haunted spaces. Modern ghost stories are now not just confined to places like dilapidated mansions or old asylums. The internet itself has become a haunted space, a place where things can go wrong, where digital realms become twisted, and where malevolent forces can exist. This quote highlights the transformation in storytelling. We've moved from the conventional narration of urban legends, which were based on common cultural fears and mirrored social anxieties, often becoming more frightening with each retelling. In contrast, creepypastas have rejuvenated urban legends by crafting new myths that circulate online and spread extremely quickly, much faster than any word-of-mouth story can spread. And remember how we used to always get those creepy chain mails, like, if you don't forward this to 5 people, you will die? And I think that can be seen as an earlier form of creepypasta. So some of the more well-known creepypastas, and the content in this section as well is quite disturbing. So some of these are Jeff the Killer, The Backrooms, Ted the Caver, and The Russian Sleep Experiment. Jeff the Killer is a fictional horror character who is depicted as a psychotic serial killer with ghastly pale skin, no eyelids, and a permanent smile-shaped scar. The original story of Jeff the Killer was created by a DeviantArt user, Sister, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, who told the story that Jeff was summoned by a Bloody Mary ritual, and while trying to clean his bathtub, he accidentally spilled a bucket of acid on his face. In true creepypasta fashion, one story about Jeff emerged back in 2011. Jeff was attacked by a group of bullies and he nearly got arrested. His brother Lou ends up taking the blame and goes into juvie. As his brother is there, Jeff becomes depressed and recluse. And because of this, his parents force him to attend a party. At this party, those same bullies were there. He ends up killing the bullies, but Jeff is doused with alcohol and set on fire, and he suffered severe burns. Once he was discharged from the hospital, he is so horrified by his own disfigurement that he starts to lose his own sanity, in turn carving the scar into his smile, removes his own eyelids, and kills his old family, and then becomes a serial killer. That's fictional. The next is the Backrooms, which I've done a video on that I'll link down below that you can check. Essentially, the Backrooms are a fictional location originating from a 2019 4chan thread, one of the best known examples of the liminal space aesthetic. The Backrooms are usually portrayed as an impossibly large, extra-dimensional expanse of empty rooms accessed by exiting, aka no clipping out of reality. And yeah, I went into detail in my previous video, so make sure you check that out if that's interesting to you. Next is Ted the Caver. And Ted the Caver is largely considered to be the first ever creepypasta. And because it's about caves, I have a fear of caves. Ever since I watched James Cameron's Sanctum, I freak out about caves, and it's a very illogical fear, but yeah, they just freak me out. So this isn't a story that I would go looking for myself. Anyway, Ted the Caver is a short story that was written by Ted Hedgeman in 2001, and it was posted on the website Angelfire. The story is written from the first person's perspective of a man who digs into an unexplored cave with his friends. As he keeps digging through this cave, things become increasingly unsettling. As the story had so many technical details and photos attached, many believed that it was completely true. However, the author revealed who he was sometime, and also explained that it was just based on his own caving experiences, but he added some embellishments here and there. And finally, the Russian sleep experiment, which is quite a well-known one, I think. This story tells the tale of 5 Soviet-era test subjects who were exposed to an experimental sleep inhibitor stimulant. The stimulant that they were given meant that the subjects didn't sleep for 15 days straight, and because of this, they turned into zombie-like creatures. And if you know the story, you've likely seen that photo that goes along with the story. And it's haunted me for a long time, that image, but the image is just an animatronic Halloween which makes me feel a bit silly. Although, to be fair, this story could be inspired by MK Ultra or all the crazy, awful, horrible stuff that went on back then. So, we've seen a shift in how we share and tell stories with one another, largely due to the existence of the internet. But why are we so interested and find creepypastas appealing? What is the psychology behind it? Well, there are a few factors, so let's explore them now. The first one is the thrill of fear. As humans, we have a complicated relationship with fear. Often we avoid it, but other times we're drawn to it, especially in controlled environments. Rosen et al. 2013 terms this benign masochism. Masochism, I don't know how to say that word. That is, enjoying something from commonly unpleasant experiences or situations by our bodies. A creepypasta allows people to experience this adrenaline rush of fear without being in any actual danger. It's a controlled fear, and we can stop reading at any time, but this safe exposure to fear activates the reward system in our brain, and we're left exhilarated and eager for more, like what's coming next. Kind of like a horror movie, I guess. The next factor is relatability. Often, creepypasta stories are set in environments which we can relate to, which can blur the line between fiction and reality, so we get immersed into the story quite easily. The next factor is the role of urban legends. Urban legends are often passed down, usually by word of mouth, and the same thing can happen with creepypastas. They get told and told again, and each time they might seem slightly different, but people want to share them. And the way that they are written or told makes them seem kind of plausible. Like how I nearly got caught out with the Carmen story earlier. Fascination with the unknown. Vocal Media 2024 says many stories deliberately leave questions unanswered, allowing the reader's imagination to fill in the gaps. This open-endedness not only heightens the horror, but also invites readers to speculate, discuss, and even create their own interpretations. We love being able to make up our own minds about something, and often they're different from others, so we're interested to see what others think as well. And when we don't get closure from a story, we're stuck thinking about it for much, much longer than we might be thinking about something else. Interactivity and immersion. This is especially true for ARGs, alternate reality games, where we feel like we're along for the ride with the creator. Personal connections can often intensify horror or thrills. And I would also say the subreddit on Reddit, No Sleep, is a great spot to connect with others and take stories at face value, even though we know they're not true. And when I first discovered this subreddit, I was about 15, and I just read them and I thought that everything was true until I realized it's just kind of a space for writers and you just have to pretend everything's true. Anyway, that's just an embarrassing fact about me. The next factor is forbidden knowledge. Humans are naturally curious about forbidden knowledge. We want to know what we're not meant to learn, and we seek it out more. A sense of mystery keeps us hooked, and that's probably why the TV show Severance did so well. Comment below if you've watched both seasons, because I love that show. Social validation and virality. Creepypastas can be seen as inherently social, as we naturally want to share such stories with others and see if they have the same reaction as we do. And when we do have a shared experience, it brings people closer together. And the final factor is nostalgia and escapism. Creepypastas can evoke nostalgia in adults because they often tap into childhood fears we may have forgotten about. For example, Me and the Porcelain Doll, and it connects us to the past. Creepypastas also offer escapism because they are just alternatives to our own reality. Creepypastas can even infiltrate our own lives. Take the example of Momo, which was a hoax/internet urban legend where young teenagers and children were being harassed by another user called Momo. And they were asked to complete dangerous tasks which were detrimental to them. And the Momo challenge turned into a full-blown moral panic due to a media frenzy, social anxiety, and folk culture. However, the number for this hoax was quite small, and no law enforcement agency has been able to confirm if anyone was directly hurt by this hoax. The origins of Momo have also been explained by More 2023, who says that a 12-year-old girl in Argentina unalived herself in 2018, which is really, really awful. Authorities found that this girl had been speaking with an 18-year-old male via WhatsApp, which is just gross. Before speaking with him, she had recorded videos of herself, and there were unconfirmed reports that she sent these videos of herself to friends, and even though the police could never really explain why, they quickly jumped to the conclusion of the Momo challenge. And they claimed that the Momo challenge was a WhatsApp-based terror game that originated in Japan. The connection with Japan is all to do with the picture of the woman used to embody Momo. And this is a sculpture of Mother Bird that was by the Japanese folk creature, the Ubum. I don't know how to say that. It's Ubume. I'll put like a photo or the word on screen. And Momo is one of those creepypasta urban legend that seeps into everyday life and was even included on an SNL skit in 2019. You can find that on YouTube. And I just want to say correlation doesn't always equal causation. I don't think that 12-year-old girl was being harassed by someone called Momo. Lake 2013 says creepypasta aspires to be urban legend. Dark social memes with just enough familiarity to give a vision of awful possibility. You can tell horror is effective when it has a Lovecraftian quality. As in H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu, if you're unaware. There's even a dedicated section for Lovecraftian creepypastas on the Creepypasta website, and I'll try and remember to link that down below. Ondrak 2018 emphasizes that creepypastas represent a new type of digital fiction where social media platforms significantly influence the narrative, showcasing a form of post-modern storytelling through the features of social media and the internet. And there are so many theories I could talk about when it comes to creepypastas, like Derrida's hauntology or spectrality, or the uncanny valley, to things like liminal spaces, but I feel like this video has been long enough. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I want to know, what's your favorite creepypasta or urban legend? Comment down below what it is, and I'll go read it if I haven't read it. As I said before, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. We're super close to 500 subscribers, and if I could get there this year, that would be epic. Yeah, and let me know if you want me to keep making sociology type videos like this, or if you have any other thoughts, or if you want to see vlogs. Yeah, just let me know. Anyway, I am Ash. This has been a fun one, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Also, I will link my blog post down below that has all the sources and references as well. Anyway, bye!